Well, thank you very much. It's been great to be with you here tonight. I got one more song I want to do for you before we go. I've been a songwriter all my life and written for lots of people, written for my heroes like Chet Atkins and George Burns and Jerry Reed. And the guy that I've written the most for is a very dear friend of mine by the name of Ray Stevens. Thank you. I've been blessed that he has recorded over 100 of my songs. And of my songs that he's recorded, this is probably the most recognizable. I hope you enjoy it. Well, when I was a kid, I'd take a trip every summer down to Mississippi. Might visit my granny in the antebellum world. I'd run barefooted all day long, climbing trees, free as a song, and one day I happened to catch myself a squirrel. Well, I stuffed him down in an old shoebox and punched a couple of holes in the top, and when Sunday come, I snuck him into church. Well, I was sitting way back in the very last pew, showing him to my good buddy Hugh, when that squirrel got loose and went totally berserk. Well, what happened next is hard to tell. Some thought it was heaven, others thought it was hell, but the fact that something was among us was plain to see. As the choir sang I Surrender All, the squirrel ran up Harv Newland's coveralls. Harv leaped to his feet and said, "Something got a hold on me." The day the squirrel went berserk in the First Self-Righteous Church in the sleepy little town of Pascagoula. It was a fight for survival that broke out in a revival. We were jumping pews and shouting hallelujah. Well, Harv hit the aisles dancing and screaming. Some thought he had religion, others thought he had a demon, and Harv thought he had a weed eater loose in his Fruit of the Looms. Well, he fell to his knees to plead and beg, and that squirrel ran out of his breeches leg unobserved to the other side of the room. All the way down to the Amen pew, where sat Sister Bertha Better Than You, who'd been watching all these proceedings with sadistic glee. But you should have seen that look in her eyes when that squirrel jumped her garters and crossed her thighs. She leaped to her feet and said, "Lord, have mercy on me." Well, as the squirrel made a lapse inside her dress, she marched the aisles and began to confess to sins that would make a sailor blush with shame. Well, she spoke of gossip and church dissension, but the thing that got the most attention's when she talked about her love life and started naming names. The day the squirrel went berserk in the First Self-Righteous Church in the sleepy little town of Pascagoula. It was a fight for survival that broke out in revival. They were jumping pews and shouting hallelujah. Well, 16 deacons and the pastor got saved, and $25,000 were raised, and 50 volunteered for missions in the Congo on the spot. And even without an invitation, there were at least 500 rededications, and shoot, we just all got rebaptized whether we needed it or not. Well, you've heard that Bible story, I guess, how we parted the waters for Moses to pass, all the miracles God has wrought in this old world. But the one I remember till my dying day is how he put that church back on the narrow way with a half-crazed Mississippi squirrel. The day the squirrel went berserk in the First Self-Righteous Church in the sleepy little town of Pascagoula. Thank you. Thank you very much. You've been a great crowd. That's our program for the night. It's always great to do a writer's night in Nashville, and thank you from Buddy Kalb and Jerry Kimbrough. Good night.